Maxine English. She is an award-winning public speaker, broadcaster, presenter, life and relationship coach, and domestic violence advocate. Let's bring her on and welcome her. Hi, Maxine.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Thank you for everybody else for having me here.
It's nice Thank you so much for being here. And Maxine, where are you joining us from today? Where in the world are you?
So I'm in Essex. So hopefully you can understand my accent. And that's in the UK.
In the UK. We have so many wonderful friends in the UK. And I also want to say hello again to Mr. Philip Chan for introducing us to so many wonderful people over there. So, Maxine, you've had an incredible journey. You have an incredible story. And I give you so much so many accolades, and I just have so much respect for you sharing what happened to you. As I mentioned in the beginning, sometimes we have guests on, they share their story, and it's a miracle that they're even alive. And I feel that you are one of those people. So without stealing any of your story and your thunder, why don't you take us back to that time, whatever you feel comfortable with, and tell us what was going on in your life.
Jacalyn, I'm quite happy to help, everybody around the world. I'm quite happy to say my story because I know for where my story is, it saves lives. And that's what made me start. In 2011, I basically got beaten, abused, nearly kicked to death by my ex-husband. Excuse that, I'm outside at the moment. And basically with that, what happened is in front of both my children, he decided to nearly try and kill me. And it wasn't just one quick punch to the face. It was literally I was kicked and punched all over my body. Not only was I bleeding from the eyes, the ears, the nose, you name it, I couldn't see out of my eyes or anything. He also kicked me in my spine. He broke 2 of my vertebrae, and the kids had to drag me to the bathroom after he left and call an ambulance because, I just couldn't move. And the first thing my daughter said to me is, "Mummy, are you going to die?" And both my children saw that. And at the time, my children were 8 and 3. So as you can imagine, it was very traumatic for them. It was very traumatic for me. They go through a lot of issues themselves. So my daughter now has got ADHD, Tourette's, behavioural issues. She's got very big issues when it comes down to trauma and people and men around her life. So that's another issue that happens when you don't just do domestic abuse. It comes to just the person it's actually aimed at. It also comes down to the people around you and the kids that are affected. My son got PTSD from it and also depression. So that's another issue that comes with that. And with me for a long time, while I was laying there on my back thinking, why me? And you sit there and think, you go through these things in life. You think you love somebody, you think someone's there for you, they do everything for you, but how then can they do this to you? But it's not until afterwards that I saw all the red flags. Sorry about that. It's not until afterwards that I saw the red flags that, the abuse that comes along with the way they speak to you and the way they act around you. And I took that for a good couple of years, not even realising. I just thought they were just having an off day. But when I got my back broken and there was like months and months that I was just sitting on the sofa doing nothing because I couldn't move, I decided, he might have broke my back, but he's not breaking my spirit. He's not putting me in a wheelchair and he's not going to take my life over. So what I actually did is I wrote myself a business plan and I decided to get into business, and I become an events planner, opening my own party shop to start with. And I did that for the first 3 to 4 years. And then basically from there, someone come up to me and said, "Do you know what? Your story is amazing. Can you please come and speak to people on stage?" And I was like, I've never done something like this before. I don't know whether I can do that. But I did it. I told my story, and a gentleman come up to me and he said, "I want to thank you." And I said, "Why do you want to thank me?" He said, "My daughter got abused violently, nearly killed her by her ex-husband 4 months ago." He said, "And I've never spoken to my daughter since because I don't know how to talk to her." He said, "But what you've just said to me and what you've gone through and how it has affected you and what you've done to overcome it, I feel ashamed of myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my daughter tonight and I'm going to get that relationship back with her." And that just hit my heart so much that I thought, wow, my words can actually help someone like that, then that's my calling. And basically since then, I've done everything from speaking on stage, I've won awards on stage, I've wrote my own book, Broken, Abused and Left for Dead, which that was my healing experience. It's all about my life and what I overcome. But it wasn't just about the domestic abuse, it's about all the things that happened in my life. You know, it's not the first time that I've been hit. I was also brought up with a very strict father, and many other things that happened in my life, but I put them in the book and I showed people how I overcome every single situation. So, because a lot of people, they go through domestic violence and they go, my life's not worth living. You know, what is the point of me being here if I'm going to get treated like this? But the way I look at it, it's like, you're here, you go through this, and what can you do to help others? So that's basically what I've been doing ever since. So I stand up on stage, I help people, I do domestic abuse advocate, I help a lot of people out, people come to me, I do life and relationship coaching, anything I could do to help, really. So that is what I've been doing probably now for the last 3.5 years. So yeah, any questions you've got for me, you're more than welcome to plug away.
Thank you, Maxine. And I'm so sorry for what you had to go through and what your children had to see. And I can't imagine. I personally have also been hit, but that's nothing to do with it. I'm just saying I can't even imagine what you went through, and how you've turned your life into just giving back and helping other people is really commendable. My question for you is, you know, we've been in this pandemic, and I've had a friend on who also was a victim of survivor, I should say, of domestic violence. And she shared that it's really been a pandemic within a pandemic, because people were stuck at home and you're there with the abuser, you can't get away, there's no place for you to go. So a question that I have for you in general is, what did you realize later, the signs that you had been missing? For people out there who might be in a similar situation, what should they look for that might indicate that they are in an abusive relationship?
The first thing it started out is probably, I had my daughter 5 weeks before we got married. And I know the reasons why I married him is obviously because I had my daughter, which was completely the wrong reason to start with. We'd only been seeing each other like 18 months. Then we got married, and my mother-in-law, that obviously has just become my mother-in-law, turned around and said to me, whatever you do, don't give him a drink. And I was like, what do you mean? And she went, oh, well, when he got drunk one time, he threatened me with a baseball bat. I was like, what? And you couldn't have told me this before? You couldn't have told me the last 18 months? You waited until my wedding day. So that was the first worry, because I had the same issue with my dad, not with a baseball bat, but I had the same issues with my dad growing up with drink and violence and stuff like that. So that put me on edge. But you know, he'd been nice for the last 18 months. You know, he'd been really sweet. I've never had any problems. We didn't argue. There was no issues. So it wasn't so much of a worry. I just didn't think of it. And then when my daughter was around about, I'd probably say about 7-8 months, he would say to me, oh, look at the state of you. I was like, well, what's wrong with me? And he's like, oh, put some makeup on, sort your hair out. And I'm like, what have I done? And then it would be like 2 or 3 weeks down the line, he'll come out with, do you know the only reason why I married you was something to do? And it's little things like that. They're just little niggles that you don't take any notice of. You're like, oh, yeah, whatever. And that's all you ever do. And the thing is when people are in an abusive relationship, it's so slow that people don't know and don't realise. You know, you take it, he's having an off day, or he got up late, or he's been really busy working. And it's just the way they talk to you. I mean, it could be a man or a woman. It's the way they dictate to you. It's the way they put you down. They make you feel bad. Because at the end of the day, when someone makes you feel bad, it's because they feel bad. And when they feel bad, they have to make themselves feel better. And to do that, they take it out on you. And that's no good for anybody. So that's the biggest issue I would say to people is check all the little signs. If you find that your gut feeling says there's a red flag, don't dismiss it. It's a red flag.
Thank you, Maxine. And I think, I know at least with me, it starts to chip away at your self-esteem. It's first the way you look, then you don't do anything right. Then why am I with you, wasting my time? And so I think what you're saying and what I experience is slowly you start getting smaller and smaller and smaller until you just hate yourself.
Yeah. And then even when it come down to the first time, you know, when my daughter was 18 months old, I come in from work, and at the time I was a chef. So I came in from work and I was dressed all in my whites and I was covered in, you know, food and muck and everything else. And I come in and he went, oh, who you been sleeping with? And I just got a punch straight in the face. And that's the first time that he'd ever hit me in 3.5 years. And I was like, what was that? What was that for? What do you think you're doing? And he literally just kept pummeling me in the face, punch, 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 one after the other. After he'd finished, my son walked in and he told him to stop. My son saved my life that day. And you know what I did? I just thought he must have been having a bad day. He went into the living room and he just cried. And I went up to him. I couldn't see out of one eye. I had a tooth missing. It was completely gone. It was like, not just a broken tooth. I'm talking about the full tooth. It was completely gone. He'd knocked it straight out. He broke some of my jaw down the bottom as well. It also hit all across my head, all across the other side. He hit my head on the concrete 7 or 8 times. And when he cried, I went up to him and gave him a cuddle. And he said to me, "I'm so sorry. I can't believe I've done this. I can't believe what I've done to my family." And he just cried. And do you know what I did? I gave him a cuddle and said it'd be okay. It was an accident. And that was, I look at that now and I'm like, why did you do that? Because I just thought it was a one-off. Because I thought, oh, he's just having a bad day. And I took him to the hospital with me and I thought, right, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'll take you to the hospital with me. And when the doctor says, who done this? And I can turn around and say, it was him. And I point straight at him. And he was like, I can't believe you've got him here with you. I was like, no, because if I've got to sit here for 4 or 5 hours going through this pain, going through all these x-rays and going through all these scans, then he can sit with me and he can have that pain as well. And he can see what he's done. And then after that, he didn't touch me for another 18 months. It was just all verbal. So I just stayed with him because I just thought it was just a one-off. And then it happened again.
Maxine, my heart is full, and I'm just wondering, as we try to help other people, when you look back on it, and again, anybody who's out there maybe in a similar situation, what would you tell them based on your experience? Is it okay for somebody to hit you one time?
No, absolutely not. And I suppose with me, I just thought, because that's something that my dad did when he was drunk, even though I knew it was wrong, I knew my dad loved me. I knew that he did it, he didn't mean it, and he used to pay me after and say, look, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. You know, next time I have a drink, just please don't say anything. And in my head, it was like, well, I shouldn't have to not say anything. You know, if you can't handle your drink, then don't drink. It's as simple as that. You know, but I was obviously young and, 13, 14 at the time. But when my husband did that, it took me back to that child. It took me back that, not that he was my dad, but he took me back to that feeling, and I was like, he didn't mean that. He loves me, really. He didn't mean that. And the thing is like, you let them get away with so much because it's so slowly, they get away with so much. Then when it does actually happen, you then feel sorry for them. And that's not how it should be. You've been put down so much, your self-esteem is so low that you then feel sorry for them because they've hit you. And that's when you know things are wrong. And people shouldn't have to put up with anybody hitting anybody. No one has the right to lay a hand on you. No one has the right to call you names. Because if someone does that, if someone turns around and says, look at the state of you, look how bad you are, you're fat, look how much weight you've put on, look how many wrinkles you've got, look how you're dressing, they don't love you. Because if they love you, then they wouldn't say those things. If they loved you, they won't make you feel the way you do.
So true. Spot on. Thank you. We've got some comments from Sophia. How do you say her name? Policius Caraza.
Yeah, something
Sorry
like that. Hi, Sophia.
Let's just go Sophia. Hi, Sophia. She says hello. And then also, we are with you, love. Only the people who've been through violence know what we are talking about. Thank you for sharing, Sophia. We've also got a message from Adam Duval. Hi, Adam.
He's from the UK.
Hello. Yeah, I know him, actually. And he writes, "You're a trooper, Maxine. Well done for speaking out."
You know me, Adam. Fantastic. I always do what I can to help others. Because if I don't speak out, people don't know and people accept it, and that's not right.
Exactly. Maxine, I normally would go to commercial break, but because you're outside, I want to keep you safe. So we're going to skip the commercial. And I'm going to go into my question, which is, obviously the body heals, the body repairs, but inside the spirit, the mind, the emotional break, it takes much longer to come back. And from what I see, you are out there helping people in every way you possibly can. And I was just wondering if you would share with us, how do you feel you have healed throughout this time? Do you feel still some sense of brokenness or personal loss, or do you feel that you've come out the other side?
I think anybody that's been through domestic violence, there's always that little niggle in the back of their brain. It's all, I mean, even probably you, Jackie, you've got that little niggle when something happens. I mean, my one is if someone gets drunk, it doesn't bother me, but you know, it's down to them. But if when someone gets really drunk and they're next to me and they start being aggressive and they get in my face, I can feel that fear come over me and I walk away. Because I can. I mean, that's just, it's just getting out of the way. But when you've got people that actually live with that, and they can't walk away, and they can't, you know, they haven't got the money and they haven't got the people around them, it makes life so much harder. But you know, you really need to heal inside, and the way to do that is to face it. I mean, my healing, I thought I was healing by going to work, starting up a new business, looking after the kids, moving forward, going to counselling, you know. And do you know what really healed me? Was me writing my book. And it was the hardest thing, but it was the most healing thing. And what I would say to you is, anything you feel, even if you can't publish a book, even if you don't feel as though that you've got it in you to publish a book, write everything down. Because what you don't realise is when you're writing down or you're typing it out on the computer or anything you're doing like that, when you actually get that out, it's like you put it in a little box and you put it away. And when you put that away, it heals inside. I mean, my back, even though it's broken at the time, I've got 2 crushed vertebrae still. Obviously, they're healed, but I've now got osteoarthritis of the spine. So because of that, when it gets like cold, or if I stand up too long or I sit down too long, I get pains. Can't always work full time. There's lots of things that I can't do. But then I look at it as though, do you know what? It was the worst day of my life. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. But if I hadn't have gone through that, then my way to heal is that I help other people. I make sure that people don't go through the same thing that I did. So if you want to heal inside, write it down on paper, get it out there and get it out of your system and put it out there. Even if you need to talk to a counsellor, you know, I did all that. I did everything I possibly could. But, you know, they turned around and said to me, in 2 years, you're going to be in a wheelchair. I was like, I'm not. And that is the strength that you have to carry with you. You have to be defiant. You know, you cannot be the person that's been put down there and you stay there. If you get put down 7 times, make sure you get up 8. Because no matter what happens, it's only you can do it.
Great words of advice. Thank you. Maxine, I'm going to ask a little bit of it might be a touchy question, but I think for everybody out there watching. So you mentioned that you witnessed your father and his pattern of behavior, and now your ex-husband, his behavior, and your children witnessed it. So what are you doing to help your children so that they don't have to go through life feeling afraid or broken or in pain?
That's a good one. That is a good one, because it's like with my son, he has got no confidence at all. So what I've done is he's on a Prince's Trust 12-week course. And with that, it helps him build up his confidence, his interviewing skills, his CV skills, and it gets him out there meeting people that he wouldn't normally meet. I made sure he went to college. You know, he did 3 years at college to make sure that he went out, because otherwise he'd just be stuck in his bedroom. So that was the only way to help him. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He's very stubborn. He just he won't speak to nobody about anything. He's lost a lot of his memory from his childhood because it's such a traumatic experience that he's completely wiped his brain. So that can be quite upsetting, but you just got to keep looking at the positives, keep looking at what you do have. So that's the main thing. With my daughter's got quite a few behavioural issues. Even now, if she got a new person coming in, she will not face them. She'll walk away, she'll cry, she'll sob. And she finds it really hard, especially with men, and she doesn't like drinking around her. And I have to say to her, look, you're safe. I will keep you safe. Don't worry. And it's a hard thing to see, because, you know, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do for your children, but then they need to help themselves too. And that can be hard. You know, it's getting them into counselling, it's getting them to see the psychiatrist, it's getting them to get anti-anxiety tablets and things like that. So, you know, whatever you can, you know, do games with them, go into activities, spend a bit of time with them, give them cuddles, tell them you love them. Most mums and dads and that will say that anyway, but you will find that when certain people come into their life, you see the fear in their eyes, and that's hard, because you know that takes them back to that trauma every single time. And all I would say to people is, if you've got kids and you turn around and say, but I'm staying together for the children, please don't stay together for the children, because all you're doing is showing your children that you're a victim. You're showing your children that you put up with all the stuff that you do. You're showing your children that you can even be weak. And my daughter actually said that to me. She said, Mum, you're just weak. And I said, why? She went, because you should have left the first time. And we don't realise what we're doing to our children by staying. So if you think that making sure it's the family unit, as they call it, that's not how it works. You know, show them how strong you are, what they can be anything they want to be. So I would say to you, you know, just do what you've got to do to move forward, and the children will follow with what you do. If you're going to be strong, they will be strong. If you're going to show no fear and get yourself out there and say the life is great, then they will do that. But you need to lead by example.
Brilliant. Thank you. As a domestic violence advocate, question that I have, again, thinking about people who might be in the situation right now and they don't have the money, they don't know where they're going to go, they don't know who to talk to, they're afraid that anyone they talk to might tell him or her. Any small first steps that people can take that you would recommend?
Yeah, so your first thing you need to do is, if you can get online, then go on the internet and see if you can find any helplines that you can go on. Make sure you clear your browser history, because they will go through that. If you're living with a narcissist, then obviously your purse strings are controlled, and you won't get any money, and they keep you away from your friends and family. What you need to do is you need to try and do everything you possibly can behind their back. And I know that seems wrong, but that is the only way to do it. You have to be a secret squirrel. You have to try and reach out to people. If you're finding that really hard and you can't reach out to people, you need to, if you go shopping, you say to them, you need £20 for shopping and you spend £18, then keep them pennies. You know, every time, keep them pennies. If you can get a few clothes and you've got family, but you've not seen them for a long time, then put a couple of tops or a couple of trousers or whatever to the family member. It doesn't look anything like anything's going, but what you're doing is you're taking stuff out of the house and you're starting to build. And give that family member £5 a week if you can, because then what they do is they'll keep that money by for you. Whatever you can do to move forward, but your first step would be to try and find a domestic abuse helpline, and they will help you every time that you call them. So all I would say to you is, anything you do, make sure it's quiet, make sure that you've got, you know, make sure that you do everything you possibly can to move forward.
Thank you, Maxine. Yes, very helpful. And it sounds like what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you should come up with a plan. And
always,
should it be you know, say to yourself, I'm going to get out of here in X amount of time, or I'm going to get out of here before this happens? How do you strategize?
It depends on the situation. If you're living with say for example, you're living with a narcissist person, okay, and then what happens is they find out some information, it can then become dangerous. So you need to get out quick. If it's the person that they're mainly abusive to you, but they haven't really got the narcissistic traits as much as some other people, then you just need to, you know, not tell them nothing, but you can do it slowly. You've got the time. But it really depends on the person that you're living with. It really depends on how bad they are. If you can get out quick, then great. You know, if you've got some money in your back pocket that you've been putting away underneath the mattress, and you know they're at work, and then get out before they get home. That's what I would say to you. But if you can stay there a bit longer and you know you're going to be okay for now, and you know perhaps they're not getting drunk to the weekend or next month or when they get paid, then you know you've got that time. But don't ever think that you've got extra time, because you haven't. And anything you get, you take with you that day, and you do not go back, even if they're nice to you, because you will find that once you leave, they will be the nicest people in the world to you. They will do everything they can to get you on side. They will do everything they can to make you fall in love with them again. They will completely hoover you up. And by doing that, that's just love bombing you constantly. And they will tell you about all the good things that happen between you. And the problem that you get with that is so many women and men, who depends obviously who's getting abused, they fall into that trap of, oh, but we've been together so many years, we've got this many kids together, and so many years were fantastic. It's only been the last couple of years. It should be okay. No, once somebody has crossed that line, that's it. I mean, let's put it in a different scenario. If you've got a dog, no matter whether it's a nice dog, a vicious dog, or whatever, you've got a dog and it bites one of your children, do you let that dog around your child again, or do you take it out the home? Have a think about that. Are you then going to trust that dog ever again with your children? Are you going to ever trust that dog again with you, even yourself, when you're asleep? Think the same as when it comes down to your partner, because you've got to trust that person 100%. If you don't have trust in a relationship, you've got nothing. So then what's the point of keeping hold of something you haven't got?
Thank you, Maxine. I'm wondering, as a follow-up to that, what if the person hasn't been physically hit, but they mentally, emotionally are being completely traumatized and tormented, like you talked about a narcissist? What should the person do? Should they just continue staying? Because somebody might say, well, he doesn't hit me. She didn't hit me.
If your partner, or it could be a parent, it could be any loved one, it could be anybody that you know, if someone is gaslighting you and somebody is, you know, being disrespectful to you in any way, you don't have to put up with that, no matter who they are. You know, that somebody doesn't have to hit you to be abusive. Someone can just be there saying to you that, look how bad you look how fat you are, look how ugly you are. Anything that makes you feel bad about yourself, that's not right. You know, that person doesn't love you, no matter how many good times you've had. You know, they've lost respect for you. And if they've lost respect for you, then how are they going to give that back to you? It's never going to come back. Especially if you take it, because they go, well, if you're going to take it, I'll give you some more. So you don't put up with it ever. It's either you're nice to me or you're out.
And we've both learned the hard way, I think. I think every guy except for one that I was with was a narcissist. So, and I realized what was the thing in common. It was me. It was me, because I was so used to that pattern of behavior. But it was always, you're fat, you're stupid, you're this, you're that. And to this day, I still feel like I'm fat. I have this in my mind that I'm just never enough, because of those relationships that I was in. So it takes a lot of discipline and courage, and it takes work, and it takes time to heal. So this show is stories of hope, inspiration, overcoming adversity. So we've talked about the adversity, and I thank you so much for your transparency about that. I'd love to spend the rest of our time giving people hope and inspiration by all the amazing things that you've done and all the things that you're doing. And I know we've touched on it, but I really want to leave our audience knowing that you can have potentially a broken back, you can be close to death, and you can say, I'm not giving up my power, I'm not giving you my spirit, I'm not giving you my soul. So that's what you did. So tell us more about the fabulous work that you're doing.
So when I stand up on stage, I heal a lot of people through talking, telling my story, like I'm doing with you right now. I mean, anybody can ask me everything and anything. And does it bring tears to my eyes? Of course it does. You know, everyone has their little soft spots. But I try and be strong, because it's saying to people, look, I'm still human. You know, I still have these tears. I still have these days that I feel bad. I still have these days, just like you, Jacalyn, I feel fat, you know. And you know what? We're not fat. We're just perfect the way we are, and we are enough. And at the end of the day, it's like, we've just got to keep going. And when I did my book, I could have actually kept all that in. But you know what? For me to keep that in, that's selfish. Because if I can help one person, like I did that first time, save a daughter and a dad's life, you know, and I now know that every single day he goes and sees his daughter, and every single day they tell each other they love each other, and that he'll always be there for her. That's what I'm here for. And yes, all right, it was the worst thing ever happened to me, but I won't be able to help these other people, you know, doing what I do. You know, I've been to Parliament and collected awards, and all these awards, they are lovely. You know, it's amazing to be said, like, you know, what the work you do is great. But my joy comes in helping the other person, and for them to come up to me and go, I got out, I'm alive. And that's everything for me, because it's the more people that I can help, the more it heals me too. So you pay it forward. You know, you feel appreciative of life. I appreciate every day that I wake up. I might wake up with an aching back, or I might wake up that I've got to take a painkiller, you know, but I'm alive. There's a lot of people out there that are not. And I should be grateful for that.
And we're grateful for you. And I think also something that you touched on is sometimes we can see the physical damage from what the abuser has done, but yet inside we still struggle with things that people can't see. And by you doing what you're doing, you're helping people become aware of that and be in touch with that. We've also got a comment from Mr. Robert J. Moore. It has been a while. How have you been? He says hello to me and to you. Do you know Robert?
I know, Robert. How are you, my darling?
Nice to have you with us, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good man. Good man. Okay, Maxine, so as we close out this show, I just want to tell you how wonderful it is to have you here. And I just am so in awe of everything that you've done and the fact that you're paying it forward, as you mentioned. And that's really important. I try to do the same thing myself. And you just are a brilliant woman and a wonderful person. And we've got another comment. Maxine English, you are a strong lady and great advocate.
Oh, thanks, Robert. I'll come and see you soon.
Rob.
I'll give you a call soon.
Okay, Maxine, I'm going to spotlight you. And if you could share with people the best way for them to reach out to you and who you would like to contact you, I'd really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Maxine English, and you've got my email on there, maxineenglish@live.co.uk. You're more than welcome to add me on Facebook. You're more than welcome to message me on Facebook. We can talk if you need help. That's not a problem. I'm here for you. It doesn't matter where you are around the world. I've helped people from India, Africa, UK, USA, Finland, Norway, you name it. I've been there. I've done it. That's not a problem. So, you know, time difference might be a bit different, so you just have to wait until I wake up. But other than that, I will get back to you, and if you need any help in the meanwhile, then just send me a message and we'll get through this together if need be. Just be strong, and no matter what happens, you are enough, you are strong enough, and you can get through this. And just don't just do this for you, but do it for your children as well. So
thank you, Maxine. You know, it's funny how life is. I was wanting to start a support group for survivors of domestic violence, and I had somebody who wanted to do it with me, actually from over there, and it didn't work out. So maybe you and I can do it.
Yep, don't see why not. Let's help out everyone from across the pond. All right. As well.
Definitely. All right, I'll be in touch with you about that. So thank you, and please get to your vehicle safely.
Yes, I will be absolutely fine. Don't you worry about that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, you too. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What a way to finish out the week. What an incredibly powerful story and an amazingly strong woman. If you are in a situation where you don't feel safe, please remember some of the things that Maxine said about steps that you can take, knowing that you're going to be watched, knowing that somebody's going to be going through your computer and going through your phone. Just be safe, but come up with a plan of action and call a support line, a helpline, reach out to somebody and do it now. All right. Sorry, I'm getting a little misty. Anyway, that will conclude our show for today. Thank you, Maxine. Sorry, guys. Sometimes you get emotional, but it's okay. It's real. All right. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.